Well, greetings friends and welcome back. As you remember from the last video about buttons and bugs, that there are some issues with the health tracker colors. The red one for the enemies is not bad, the purple one for the enemies is not bad, even though I got them confused in the last video. The brown one for the character is okay, given that, you know, you've got a little blood symbol there. Color's still pretty dark. The issue is specifically these two. So the one on the right is meant to be for blue and the one on the left is meant to be for green. And from this distance and this coloration, I don't know whether you can tell the difference, but I certainly found it difficult in my games. So today we're going to fix it. Okay, so what we've got is, doesn't really matter which one you go for, but I've gone for the Acryl Pro Acryl, whatever, the bold titanium white. The idea being that it's a white that has really good coverage. So you only really need to put on one coat of this stuff. Put a little blob there, grab our little brush, chuck some on, grab the offending blue one in this case, and we'll just carefully dab it on in the center of the circle. Now obviously some of you are going to argue that this ruins the counter and that I shouldn't be doing this, and you're possibly screaming at your screens that I am some form of heathen, which is fine. I'm just doing this for my game. You don't have to do it for yours. But I did find that even, I mean, obviously here I'm lit by ridiculous amounts of studio lights, right? But if I wasn't, then I know that my ability to see these colors and differentiate specifically between the two. So if I was doing this, you know, under the stars camping or anywhere that had suboptimal lighting, I've got no hope. So even with this titanium white, high pigmentation white paint, it took a good 2 coats to get it to, you know, an acceptable level. I appreciate the circles aren't perfect. That's not really what I was going for. I'm sure if you want to spend your whole time getting perfect circles, you can. So now it's about choosing colors. So what I've done is I'm going to do it with speed paints, which is possibly ill-advised, but I'll show you why. And I've tried to match the cubes to the colors so that it makes sense when I'm aligning those with the actual enemies. So I've gone Moody Mauve for the purple one, I'm going Blood Red for the red one. For the green one, I'm going to go with this one, Ghoul Green. High Lord Blue for the blue one. And then finally for the brown one for the characters, I'm just going to go with Hardened Leather. Now if you have any experience with speed paints, you'll know that the color in the bottle, for example for this green one, doesn't necessarily match the color of the finished product. So I've actually gone to the trouble, I had some old Empire miniatures lying around, and so I've gone to the trouble of essentially making myself little swatches. So I've got these guys for all of the paints, and then I have written out very expertly a guide so I can match up the color that I'm looking at to the color that I want. So that's how I got around the fact that the speed paint labels aren't actually reflective of the color that's inside the bottle. So now I fully appreciate that there may be a portion of you, maybe a high portion of you, who are currently screaming at the screen going, don't do it, you'll ruin your game. And whilst I understand where you're coming from, this is ultimately my game. I can do with it whatever I want. But what about the resale value? Yes, I know, it's true. There are reasons why you maybe shouldn't do this. I totally appreciate where you're coming from. But I've decided to do it this way because I am really annoyed by the colors on these things, and I can never tell which one I'm bloody holding or which one I'm adjusting. So as a result, this is going to work for me. It may not work for you, but here's what we're going to do for my game anyway. And yes, I probably ruined the resale value, but the thing is, I'm never going to resell this thing. Looking at the blue one in particular, this is one of the ones that I really wanted to get sorted with a bit of extra coloring. And I have picked purposefully, not only a blue that I think matches the square, but a very bluey blue, right? And look, in retrospect, I probably should have gone for another undercoat layer to make it a perfect white. Yeah, maybe I should have. Anyway, but the point is, that is now blue. You cannot mistake that for a green, right? Now, of course, you're going to tell me that I actually painted the green one blue. That would be unfortunate, wouldn't it? And that's really the point, is to be able to differentiate the blue and the green and stuff. It's not for this to look pretty in the end. If you're spending your time looking at the health dials and not the minis or the game board, then you're probably doing something wrong. But look, now you cannot deny, you cannot be confused with what color that is. All right, let me do the other ones. Now, speed paints in general are a bit of a double-edged sword. You can see that the pigments are obviously really bright in that one tiny little bit of paint and the pigmentation has, taken to a level where it's just very happily 100% saturated and there's no confusing the colors. On the other hand, they can be a little bit tricky in that they are so fluid, so thin, that if you happen to put a little bit too much paint on, they'll kind of just flow right off the edge of things. So in this case, they could have quite easily flowed into the cardboard and, ruin that. But we avoided that by applying a small amount. Right, friends, well, what do you think? Did I fix it? Did I ruin it? Potentially both. I will say that the colors matched up reasonably well. Now, using speed paints, was that a good idea or not? Yeah, look, probably not. If I had my time again, I'd probably do it with acrylic paints, especially the green has kind of gotten a bit clumpy and mushed up. So yes, if you have acrylic paints, or even if you have like little micro stickers that you could stick on these things, take-home point is, here is an option for fixing the awful coloring that exists in vanilla version of Buttons and Bugs in a way that you can't tell the green and blue apart at all. And this gives you an option. Right, did I fix it? Did I ruin it? I'm not sure. Why don't you guys tell me down in the comments, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye guys.